Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is Roundtable Africa, your favorite show. I am Sekou Keller, your host, and I'm here with my co-host Edward Amara, and we are discussing, as usual, news that made headlines across Africa. Edward Amara, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very, very much, Mr. Kelly. I also want to join you to warmly welcome our listeners across the group, especially Africa and those of our brothers and sisters who are living in the diaspora to dissect on issues that affect our continent by and large. They are all welcome and to actively participate into the discussion.
Definitely. It's been quite a week at Amara. We missed last week. A lot have been going on around the continent. And today we are about to discuss news that made headline. First of all, how do you feel about it? And then what do you think our listening audience should be expecting from us today?
I think the audience expect the program to be interactive, informative, and also the information that we are going to dispense to them should have something to do with them. Because this program is one of the most informative programs currently on Facebook, and it does trend a lot. And we have been getting a lot of commendation from people across Africa. So our listeners expect us to dilate on issues that may have happened beyond their notice. So I think they're expecting us to give them things that may keep them informed, maybe glued to the continent, even though they may not be in Africa, they may not be in those places, but at least an informed person is an empowered person. So he who is not informed is a handicap.
Definitely. We welcome each and every one of you, our viewers, and we appreciate that you're always here on Wednesday to follow this program. And as we always say, feel free to contribute in the comment section, and always apply through the comment section as well if you want to be a guest on the show as we discuss things that matters to Africa. So that being said, Edward, without wasting much of the time, we will take our first topic of discussion here today is the anti-immigrant violence in South Africa akin to apartheid. Now, to lay down, give a background to this story. We are dealing with South Africa here, a country that have gone through the apartheid system where the white minority rule over the black majority, and then there's some kind of a segregation, and the economic, political, and social segregation which is called apartheid. And South Africans struggle through this since from the 80s, right, through 90s, and they were able to get their freedom with the participation and the contribution of Africa and the rest of the world. African revolutionary contributed in cash and in kind to make sure that South Africa gained her independence. And today, we've seen South Africa being led by a quote-unquote revolutionary party called ANC, the Party of Liberation. But it seems that the ANC has failed. And it has failed on so many fronts. Failed in the area of education, failed to inform its people, failed to fulfill the promises to the people. It failed to fulfill a social contract with the people. As a result, the people are looking for answers. And one of the answers is to attack fellow Africans in South Africa, kill them, brutalize them, destroy their property, steal from them, dehumanize them, and let the white minority to move around freely. Let the Indians move around freely. Let the Asians move around freely. But as long as you are black skin and you are in Africa, then you become an easy and soft target. And they have to brutalize you. They have to kill you. They have to rape your women. They have to burn your shop down. They have to steal your money. Edward, where are we? Calling the even apartheid for me is an understatement. I call it a disaster of the century. What's your take, brother?
I cannot agree with you more on most of those submissions that you have made. In fact, I think Tango, the apartheid was something that was widely condemned and maybe regarded as the most repressive regime that ever existed on the black continent of Africa. Having underscored that, I think, can I say it is aching? I don't even want to say it's similar. It's more than what we call apartheid. Because the fact here is that apartheid was a kind of what a black a white minority ruling the black majority. But when we talk about this xenophobic attack that is not happening today into South Africa, I seen the majority of the population now suppressing anybody who is a black. Maybe the brains of South Africans perpetrating this act, to me, it is definitely on holidays because we you highlighted certain things. Apartheid did not just come to an end into South Africa. It took the sacrifices of other black countries, the condemnation. It took the courage of other Africans to stand. They stood firm with them, with the South African per se, to ensure that the domination of the white minority ends over the black. Now we are seeing our brothers and sisters who came in the early 90s, took over power, they have definitely failed. Now they have established more than a repressive system. In fact, they are not doing it indiscriminately. It is like taking away robbing Paul to pay Peter. This is a classical evil being done by South Africans that little Africans like we thought that the South Africans themselves would have been positioned to start inflicting harm and danger on their brothers they call Africans. Why did they condemn the apartheid regime when they are doing worse than it take? Of course, leaders came into South Africa, they left. We are now seeing Mr. Ramaphosa on the helm of affairs. But maybe he met this xenophobic mentality being established into South Africa, where whenever there is a kind of outcry in time of the kind of global crisis, we see our African brothers turning it against their own Africans who help to fight against them. Nigerians are their target, Zimbabweans are their target, Botswanans, Angolans, Somalians, you name these people. And unfortunately, the Bantu mentality of the South Africans make it very easy for Africans to be suppressed. Maybe it is high time South Africans are ashamed of themselves. They have developed a culture that is definitely not African. They have implanted into them things that is not worth of being driven. It was they survived through the advocacy of other Africans. Other Africans stood at their side. They wrote a lot of books to ensure that the apartheid regime come to an end. I think the behavioral pattern of South Africa today is a disgrace to the entire African continent. If Nigerians, South Africans, Sierra Leoneans, Liberians, Guineans, Angolans, Mozambican, Beninese, you talk about Somalia and South Sudanese are being attacked today. Then what the heck are we talking about here? I think it's a disgrace, it's a calculated insult to the continent of Africa. The leadership of South Africa should really think twice. It is worst. Maybe we may describe it. It is okay, it is similar to the apartheid regime, but it is now worse to what they were doing because now they are in majority. They can inflict harm and danger any other person. The ANC was actually, the apartheid regime was killing people this indiscriminately, but now they are doing it boldly. And the worst of all is an African killing his or her own brother. It's really, really pathetic.
Thank you very much, Edward Amara. I wanted to really go into the issue a little bit deeper because it bothers me a lot when I see this. This is not happening on any other continent. We are not seeing Europeans. Yeah, there's a European war going on, but you see the amount of the kind of outrage, that comes from fellow Europeans in support of Ukraine. I am wondering what is happening when South Africa march on other black people's homes and burn them alive. What is the sentiment of the rest of the continent? What is the sentiment? What is the action taken by organizations like the African Unity, SADC? What actions, concrete actions, are these organizations taking to stop this? That brings me to the saying of Edward Blyden. Edward Blyden, one of the greatest intellectuals that we produce in the Mano River Union there, both Liberia and Sierra Leone. We own this man called Edward Wilmot Blyden. Blyden said in his book, Christianity, Islam, and the Negro Race, he said, we are the beginning of African independence, that black nations are now rising up to build new country. I'm paraphrasing here. He said, the whole world have challenged us that we have intellectual inferiority, that our culture is inferior, that everything about us is inferior. And we have marched on the street, we have demonstrated to prove to the world that we are not inferior, that we are humans. He said the time has come for us to now move away from just mere demonstration and trying to prove to the rest of the world that we are human just by mere words and rhetoric. We have to prove it by action, by nation building, our ability to build and take care of our people, build a civilized society. If we fail to do that, then we have confirmed what our enemy have said, that we have low intellectual capacity to compete with the rest of the civilized world. What is happening in South Africa is a demonstration that the black man has failed again in the 21st century to build a civilized society. Despite the apartheid, when the white man was in charge of South Africa was a global power. How come the black man took over South Africa and South Africa became a disaster? Edward, tell me about this. What is it that our black people, Africans, have failed to build a prosperous nation? What is the problem?
The problem about Africa is like we don't think intellectually, because maybe we may say poverty, illiteracy, and ignorance maybe are the problem of some of the things that constitutes or some of the main causes that constitute problems in South Africa. But I think South Africa is an exposed society comparatively to other African countries. They have been living on a wide dominion, is a sophisticated one, very exposed. But hardly African land from their own history. Take the mentality of the I think they have relegated the culture of Africa. They have relegated what the AU stands for, what the Pan-African, what the laws or the culture that Pan-Africanism is preaching. When you watch at what happened into South Africa decades ago, in the 1940s, coming to until the 1990s, when finally they were exonerated from the shackles and manipulation, corruption, the dictatorial repressive one of the apartheid regime. Now we call people that we have. I think Africans, as you rightly said, we have the intellectual power. But how many people are reading? Because many a time you should not only learn history, but history should also teach you how certain mistakes that happened into the past, how we made those mistakes can be corrected in the future, though we cannot undo them because whatsoever thing has happened, but we still have the potential to correct them into the future. Now watch at the South Africa regime. It only takes a courage for somebody like to stand up against the majority, because black South Africans are in majority. The disgraceful thing that is happening, in fact, now they are presenting a very different picture to the entire world, especially South Africa per se, because it was our African brothers and sisters who stood by their side to ensure that they are emancipated. They have been exonerated from the shackles of apartheid. Now today, just because the ANC, instead of them attacking their African brothers and sisters who might be into South Africa because of one or two reasons, I think they should direct their attack against the failed ANC party. Because our brothers and sisters, our Nigerian brothers, our Angolan brothers, our Beninese, South Africans, our Zimbabweans, you talk about Ethiopians, Somalians, are not responsible for the poverty that the South Africans today are suffering. It is the exact failure, the corrupt ANC is responsible for that. Look, they have a state capture regime. They know the solutions to their problem. Instead of them attacking their government, instead of them taking to maybe come with a corrective system, they are using it against innocent brothers who have to fight against them. Maybe the AU, the intellectual system, the AU approach is a bit too. In fact, you cannot use a civilized world to uncivilized world to civilize things that are not civilized. It's very wrong. Now, this is a kind of radical society that South Africa has developed, where they have arms proliferation on what is going on, Our African brothers who are there because of one or two reasons they are not safe, and they are not in governance. It is not Nigerians, it is not Zimbabwe, it is not Beninese, it is not Sierra Leoneans, not Liberians who are ministers. They are not councillors. They are not determining the fate of South Africa. It is their own brothers who are leading into the ANC. Maybe they should have been
Absolutely.
doing what Julius Malema is doing, attacking the politicians, telling them what they ought to do because they have failed into their social contract. Unfortunately, these thoughtless, these brainless South Africans are using it against our own brothers. And they have their own brothers into other countries. They are not because that of their so-called attack caused a reprisal into Nigeria. Maybe it is high time somebody look at them into the face and told them the wrong that they are doing. Because now, in fact, a radical society has developed into South Africa, and they have not developed the culture that each time the government fail them, they can turn it over on others Africans who are not related to their problem. Maybe AU and others should hold them responsible. They should be taxed. They should be charged. These people should be charged. They are criminals. And look like what, let us take a common example like the Jacob Zuma case. How many Nigerians, how many Angolans, how many Zimbabweans, how many Sierra Leoneans, how many Liberians, how many Beninese, or how many other nationals who are involved into Jacob Zuma corruption? They did not establish the Gumta family. They did not participate into the state capture. They did not corrupt any government. When Jacob Zuma was being apprehended and temporarily jailed because he refused to obey the court order, it was our African brothers who suffered instead of the politicians themselves. So have you seen? I think South Africa is just a lost society, a one that needs to be reconstructed. South Africa is a lost society into anything that they are doing. It's a lost society.
Definitely. I really support. In fact, sometimes I suspect that these boys could be state-sponsored thugs because
Absolutely.
we there is no way to explain that South Africa, with all his sophisticated security system, police have been able to stop a group of criminals going around disturbing peaceful citizens. How can a man be put on military regalia and go around knocking on people's doors, a civilian, asking people about their papers? Why do you have government? Has it become a gangster republic that anybody can just wake up and mobilize boys and go into people's homes? Is that what South Africa has become? And my problem is that African Union have not been able to put sanction on South Africa. If South Africa failed to protect Africans in South Africa, they should be sanctioned. There should be consequences for killing Africans. You see, and it's a monumental failure for South African leadership. Really, it's a shame. It's disgraceful, and I think this chicken will come home to roost one day, because when these people are done with foreigners, they will come after them. They will go after their own ethnic groups. It will be a tribal war because they will be attacking each other. You are not from this region. You are not from this region. And that will come. So South Africa is going to fail. Ivory Coast tried this kind of xenophobia attitude. They know where it ended them. Okay. Nigeria once did it to Ghanaians. All over the continent, anyone that tries this xenophobia attitude, it always ends out negative. And South Africa will not end well with this. And I really hope that Africans leadership, the African Union, will be able to punish South African government for sponsoring these people, because I believe they sponsor them. Because the guy who is leading this movement, like the new movement they call Dudula, for example, he's always out there. They see him on TV. He's giving interviews. He's going on radio, and people are being killed. People are being burned alive, and he's moving around freely. If government is not sponsoring him, who do you think is doing it? Because the ANC government has failed. So the only way they can hide their failure is by deflecting the attention of the people and say the reason why you don't have jobs is because of fellow Africans in your country. Instead of telling that we have failed as leaders to provide jobs for you. I think that's what is happening, and it's embarrassing. And the only person who is seeing clearly in that country for now is Julius Malema.
Absolutely. Julian Malema maybe is one of the boys in the Wydad's calling. People will
Yeah.
watch at him, they think that he's a positive radical. He's a positive radical. Because his attack is not being directed against the foreigners, the innocent foreigner. Rather, his
No,
attack is being directed against this corrupt, set-established
the system.
politician who have manipulated the South African society, established state capture, And since they took over in the early 90s, no improvement have been there. Rather, the South African society have been a bastardized one. Unfortunately, the creed that is now doing, they are even becoming worse than the apartheid regime. You can definitely not rob Peter to pay Paul. It's a failed system. South Africa is becoming a failed society, a lawless one, where hoodlums are on the rampage. Maybe they should resemble like Haiti, where you don't have peace or you do not have control in places like Port-au-Prince. We need to be very, very careful because, mind you, they have already a culture of established apartheid regime, and now they are now developing it a more radicalized system where foreigners may definitely not tend to feel as if they are in safe haven. If I have an opportunity today, choose South Africa, I will never go there because at any time you can be killed. They ask you to live into Bantu, where they can easily direct their odd behavior to them.
Yeah. The attitude of the people is even disgraceful. The intellectuals have failed. The educational system has failed. Because let's take United States, for example. You have a party that is anti-immigration, the Republican Party. They are anti-immigration. So what they do, they look for politicians that are anti-immigrant and elect them into office so that these politicians will pass law that will make immigration difficult, that will protect the border. That's why Trump was voted into office. But you don't see them going house to house attacking people. It's a civilized society. You don't find Europeans going house to house looking for African immigrants that arrive on boats in Europe, killing them. Imagine if they were doing that. These are people we accuse of racism and all that. We have difficult history with them, but you don't see them doing it. They go after the politicians. So what is it that this so-called South Africa, that quote unquote advanced, did not know that their problem comes from the leadership and not these people? There is immigration for that regulates who come into the country and who goes out. So if you see that system fail, you go after the authorities. You see, I'm really, really ashamed. And it's unfortunate we have to talk about this every year, and the African Union does nothing. The SADC community does nothing. It's very, very unfortunate. Let's take on to the second topic. Is still in the southern part of Africa, Zimbabwe now. Teachers suspended for pay strike till legal action. Tell us about this, Edward.
I think it's not a laughable stock, a real satire into Zimbabwe. When you watch the educational system, maybe Zimbabwe used to be one of the antennas of education into Africa. I wouldn't want to limit it to the southern part of Africa. Rather, it's one of the civilized society when it comes to infrastructural development, though the Zanupia regime has relegated it. Even when it comes to the education system, they are one of the leading educated black nation into Africa. If we had not so the refreshing regime of Robert Gabriel Mugabe over 30 years, he was on the hem of affairs, and now still we are seeing that same mentality developing into Emerson Mnangagwa, popularly known as the crocodile. Now we are watching at the society where moral is now the relegated one. The education system is now in its most crippled form. Health workers or anybody who is attached to government MDAs or government ministries, they find it very difficult to survive. And now you are watching at a young population into Zimbabwe who are hungry for education. But the civil service payment into South Africa is a very slow one. The money hardly comes by, and even if it does, it hardly cater or put food on your table. But we are developing positive radicals. You do not expect an educated person to be a civilized dominant. Why did you become educated for? You became educated because you have that potential to speak out against things that may go against you. Unfortunately, Africa, apart from Zimbabwe, do not respect education, especially when it comes to our teachers. In fact, the word teacher is synonymous to poverty into West Africa. And Zimbabwe is no different. Immediately you call somebody a teacher, they say that guy is a poor man. Because you could be unemployed if you do not take time for the rest of your life. Even when you are graduated from college with a sound degree and you decide to go to toe down the teaching fee to continue to, you will hardly be paid. Now, We are seeing in a situation where the government of Zimbabwe per se vis-a-vis depend on the teachers to dispense their services. But in the dispensation of their services, they sign a contract with you. You need to pay them for this for their services that they are doing. And it's not only Zimbabwe alone that have been highly hit by this COVID-19 crisis, although we can qualify the exacerbation of their own system because of the perpetual sanction that they found themselves in. But that shouldn't be an excuse that the government shouldn't pay teachers. Now, when they strike, they have been in fact, most of them who strike have been automatically sacked. And teaching is a professional field. That is why you have to go through certain teaching skills. You must have a teaching methodology. Before, not everybody who is educated can actually teach. If you are not, so everybody can become pastors and imams, sheikhs. Teaching is a special field. One need to have a passion. You have to develop a culture, and you need to have the techniques how to impart knowledge from one place. Learning cannot take place without an enthusiastic teacher who is willing to dispense his or her own duty. These teachers strike on moral justification. They strike because of what they have. Now, the so-called ZANU-PF government, led by Robert Gabriel Mugabe, son that is tutored, now suspended those teachers. Some of them, they are no longer receiving their salaries. In fact, they can just terminate their service without any pain of session. They are going to court. But even when it takes situation like that to court, the court is a manipulated one. The justice system into Zimbabwe is one of the most corrupt one. Politicians have been locked there who are highly influential. Nobody cares about them. What about a poor teacher who does not even have a hut to live in? Because you are living in the relegated society where you have a corrupt and repressive regime that have created secret police services overnight that you cannot strike. Because the teaching service are not a pressure group. They have the right to advocate for themselves. So you watch at the organogram of Africa, especially when it comes to the education system, it's an abandoned one. Because we need positive radicals to be breathed into our school so that we can have a positive renaissance. It is because corrupt, selfish, unscrupulous politicians like Emerson Mnangagwa and others today are on the helm of affairs. The society of Africa today is a bastardized one. It's a relegated one. It's a one where even the education system is in poverty. Because as long as in fact, there is kind of that the educational system is not just idle, and these teachers genuinely went on strike. Zimbabwe is just an epitome of some of those examples, but the teaching profession is definitely not respected in Africa. That is why you are seeing, I normally tell people that there is education growth into Africa, but there is no education development. Because if education and development we have been there, the quality of education would have been shown. But these teachers are disgruntled. They are unpaid. They are not being paid. They are not being respected. Their salary are so relegated that they do not even have enough to cater for their own families. Because if you are being paid less than $100 per month, looking at how prices of goods and services are now on what skyrocketing into Africa, what do you expect that teacher? And the worst of us, trust me, teachers in Zimbabwe are not even paid up to $30. And yet, the money being given to them is being unscrupulously stopped by this so-called government. And when they take the system to court, this same court system, if you do not dance to the tune of the government of the day, at the end of the day, you are going to lose your position as a judge. So, who are the sufferers? They went to elephant fight. It is the guys that suffer. But the manipulation of the government is making like the social class of Zimbabwe is no longer developing. And the education system will definitely come to a standstill, except because they found themselves a little bit lucky to be surrounded by neighbors who are a little bit better. Also, most Zimbabweans today found themselves out of the country. And those Zimbabweans who are actually receiving education into Zimbabwe per se, it is a relegated one. So we are watching at a system that affects Liberia, it affects Sierra Leone, it affects Guinea, it affects all over the system. Maybe I think it is high time our teachers are respected for the services that they are delivering. Or else, what we are preaching for may never be achieved. Because the foundation of our education is so poor. And these teachers, as long as they are not being adequately paid for their services, do not expect quality education. And quality education does not only rely on the ideal environment and the provision of certain things, the man delivering the services should also be a satisfier. And in fact, even if you can have everything fixed in place, as long as the teacher is not being respected, is not being adequately paid for, because a hard working worker is a motivated one. How can you motivate a person without a hands-on package of salary, without incentive, without him being protected on the job? So at the end of the day, the system now is not the relegator. So train and qualify sound teachers are leaving Zimbabwe to teach into other countries. So that is a very, very sad. And I think it's another failed system. The ZANU
Yeah.
players have failed the Zimbabweans for quite a long time.
It's quite unfortunate, my brother. There is a book written by a French, I think a French intellectual, was a black man called La Question Nègre. That is the question of the black man. In that book, the man began to, quote some of the plantation, the slave owners, what they were saying, about black people, that we are, these are racist comments, by the way, but the demand for one to reflect on them. That when we get food, we eat and we drink, we are just happy. We don't think beyond that. We are not ambitious. That we just love pleasure, to be in dancing hall or to have some little kind of a pleasure. We don't think of tomorrow. We don't aspire to be powerful. We don't aspire to even rule the world. We don't aspire to create philosophers who will even overtake the white man. We don't think that we have the ability or the capacity to even dream to become the leaders of the white man. We think we were created to be subjects. We were created to serve. We were created to be enslaved. We were created to be second-class citizens of the planet. We think that that's where we belong. Aspiring to be more than that is considered dangerous. Why am I saying all this? You look at a nation like Zimbabwe that you captured from white people after a lot of struggle, and Zimbabwe was the food basket of the Southern African region. Zimbabwe was a thriving nation. Do these black leaders have the envy, the anger in them, the jealousy to say we want to put Zimbabwe back to that level? We want to see Africans clean, educated, and having well-paid jobs in Zimbabwe. Do they even think like that? Do they feel it? Do they even have love for the people, that they want these people to live better life? Or they prefer to have majority in poverty while they move around in cars and everybody dancing for them? Is that what these people want us to be like on the continent? Dancing for them all the time? Because looking at Zimbabwe, a country that said I have one of the most educated population, okay, and you Mnangagwa took over. And you know that when you play with education, you play with the future of the society already. And teachers are always overlooked in African society and in so many other countries. I don't know why. I believe that if you want to build a very good society, you begin by paying professionals very well. Because once professionals are paid, then professionals like teachers, then you expect them to give their best. When they give their best, you know that they will produce a better society. But when you play with teachers, then you play with the education, then you play with information, then you play with even the future of that society is already drawn or ruined. That's what Zimbabwe is going towards. If I used to say, if I were in government or I have the opportunity to have power, I believe that professionals should be paid better than politicians. Professionals, engineers, carpenters, or all professionals, starting from teachers, nurses, doctors, they should be well paid than politicians. Politics is not a career. Okay, but these people have suffered a lot to acquire their profession, and they are providing professional services to the nation. The future of the nation depends on professionals and technocrats. So you cannot be paying politicians for talking nonsense and be underpaying people who are building the intellectual capacity of the country, those people you are playing with. You see, teachers today is synonymous to someone who is poor. Why? Why should a teacher be synonymous to a poor person? People that are building the billionaires to come, people that are building the thinkers, the philosophers to come. These are the people that you want to maltreat them, you want to underpay them, you want to sack them anytime you want. I think if you play with teachers, you must I well play with the future of the nation. And if any nation want to have a renaissance culture, they should really invest in education. They should invest in the education very heavily, and they should make sure that teachers are well taken care of. That's how you know a society that is progressive. You know it by the way the budget they allocate to education. That's where you know that this nation is serious, is on a path to progress. It's how they take care of their education, the health care, and the economy. That's where you know that these people are on the path to progress. Any nation that play with education, that play with its teachers, you can as well say that that nation is destined to fail. So Zimbabwe, Edward, I believe Zimbabwe is going backward at the speed of light. It's not just going backward, it's going backward at the speed of light, and it's almost irredeemable except another revolution happens.
Absolutely. With the like of Zanopia on the helm of affairs in Zimbabwe, the survival of the country economically is very, very weak, and the literacy ratio is very high for now. But since the government has embarked on discouraging the educational system, I think when it is finally relegated, you may have a group of young people who made, I think, because now Zimbabwe is blessed, they are not facing any war, even though a lot of sanctions, they have realized that their government has failed them. But it is because of intellectualism into Zimbabwe. Most youth are educated and they know that the ballot box maybe is a better way to solve repressive political system like that. They have chosen not to be negative radical. But the government start discouraging the system because I strongly believe that if Managagwa is to leave power today, another war veteran may come into power. And if he or she does, that person is definitely not going to change the mentality of its leadership. Reason being, they have built a corrupt wealth or empire over the years, and they wouldn't want somebody else who is not linked to them directly or indirectly to take over those things. So if they continue discouraging the education system, maybe they are trying to destroy the very empire that they have built over years, because people who are less educated, who think radically, may end up to what overpower the Zimbabwe education system or their society system, and what you don't expect may definitely happen. And we are seeing radical groups into the southern part of Africa. So I think this government need to be very, very careful, and they should know how to handle their education system, or else it is because of the civilized natures of those Zimbabweans that have kept the Zanopia into power. So if they try to discourage the education system, they are definitely creating problem for themselves.
Definitely, they are definitely creating problem. And to build a Renaissance society, like we said, education, education, education. If you play with education, the nation is done. There's nothing else you can do. So, talking about education, we are going to Sierra Leone now in West Africa. There's something there about education as well. So, fake PhD discovered in Sierra Leone. The consequences. Edward, academic fraud is not new. It's not new on the continent, it's not new everywhere around the world. But our society like ours, where we are looking for technocrats to take over to run government, we are in dire need of professionals, we're in dire need of intellectuals to put us on the right path. What does it speak to us when someone discovered with fake PhD? And how was this guy discovered this? How was he discovered? Where did he acquire this PhD from? And how has he been able to get away with it in the system? Tell us.
Well, it is not only a guy. These are a group of corrupt people who have managed to manipulate themselves into the public sector into Sierra Leone. They have what they call the Dominion Christian University, unknown but very popular among a syndicate here who have acquired PhD degrees overnight. What is fortunate for one reason, government does not employ, or the government does not have the capacity or maybe the ability to employ somebody and pay you because of your PhD. However, people with fake degrees like that can be employed into our public institutions like the universities, our colleges, and other places. And they can easily be given positions on credentials that they do not actually merit. Have you underscored that this so-called Christian Dominion Christian University, a lot of high place individuals here are carrying PhDs that are very fake. Fake in an extent here, there is no institution that is established, that is accredited, or in affiliation with any university in and outside Africa with this so-called Christian or Dominion Christian University. So folks are in Sierra Leone here carrying PhDs, graduated or given to them, bought overnight by this so-called Christian or Dominion Christian University. Strongly
Is it a
affiliated with
register?
someone.
Is it a registered institution
It is
accredited?
on paper it is registered, but those universities in the Western world and other places like Uganda, they claim that they are from. They make write a disclamation that they are not. They do not even know this university, and they are not in affiliation with any university like that. But mind you, guys are being morally respected, and at the same time they are being given a type of what accolade into society that they do not actually merit. The danger of degrees of PhDs like this is that government on its own may not employ you because of your so-called PhD degree. Maybe because of your first degree and masters, you could be employed by government. However, if this type of people found themselves into universities, what they normally do, they are given professionals position into our universities that they do not actually merit. So if that person is not educationally charged to dispense that type of responsibility, just because he or she came with that fake degree and presented it to it, they can even give them faculties and choose to advise students that they are not even knowledgeable about. So right away, if you want to destroy any country, destroy the educational system. So these people are destroying our educational system. They have picked it up. In fact, it happened on these papers we have been leaked out on the 1st of April. When I saw it first on social media, I thought it was like an April Fool. Only when it went beyond time, they started naming certain. I'm not going to name names on social media on this platform now because the issue is under investigation. As long as it's under investigation, we need to be careful. Are going to discuss the issue. We do not name names until the police and other people come out with their own personal findings. But police officers have been named. People in state house have been named. Highly placed people in our society, over societies have been named. And these people are refused to comment. Now they are calling on the ACC to investigate. Of course, the ACC can only investigate if there is an issue of corruption. So the ACC have instructed all of those education and bodies first to ensure that they vet their staff, all the credentials that they are coming in. If they have found out that anybody is within that particular government, be private or government institution, where somebody has used that so-called Christian, Dominion Christian university paper to merit a position, that person should be prosecuted. Because it means you have fooled the nation, you have fooled your employee, and you are creating disaster. It is because our own, this tell you that illiteracy is still on the rise into Sierra Leone. Because people cannot even cross-check certain things. I simply tell you that even employers are not severely scrutinizing their employees. Somebody can just come with a so-called paper in the name of originality. I am computer literate. I can sit down and type on something and make some logo or whatsoever and present it, and you will go and confirm it just because it came into that form. So I think even the ICT system power into our own system is very weak, because people should start to cross-check. At least there should be a serial. There should be an original mail on this particular document. There should be certain things that should pronounce. There should be a seal. But the system have been manipulated. And trust me, there are people, a chunk number of people into Sierra Leone, highly placed into our society, who may likely be exposed, because we believe that our ACC system here is an active one. With all due respect, Ben Kefala is a proactive and reactive man. And he knows what to do and when to do it. So they have embarked on a series on investigating all other people. Even irrespective of where you have found, they have written a letter to all government institutions and private sectors to investigate holders of public offices with certain papers and to know the authenticity of their papers. That is why if you check at most of our road construction, just after the engineer constructed them, when you get there, in fact, they will facilitate accidents. You check to certain schools, those schools will broke down because the engineers are not trained and qualified. Even you check into the medical profession, doctors will end up killing their own patient. You check into the teaching field, you will see somebody bubbling, and that person calls him or herself as a teacher. You are even seeing lecturers into certain colleges. When they are lecturing you, you will regret it. Where did this person get his papers? What university granted him this type of paper? I was once a student, and I once participated as a student lecturer. I know the hands that I went through. I know those who are half baked. So even when they are teaching you, start to wonder, who gave this man this type of degree? Does this person actually merit this thing? Some of these things start to rankle around your mind. This is really telling you what we are trying to do here. That is why the very education system, our governance system, is a failed one, because we are not having technocrat handling our affairs. We are having people square pegs into round hole who came with certificate that they do not actually merit. I think the issue in Sierra Leone is not a peculiar one. It is all over Africa, and people are there. You are having people who are even carrying masters that they do not like. That is why the product of the man. In fact, you can market yourself before ever the product that you have. Definitely, you have the position. Your mouth is like a private property if you want to use it. Definitely, an educated person, if he or she speaks to you, you will definitely understand that this person is educated. And these are half-baked. We found them in medical field, we found them in universities, we found them in our working institutions. That is why we have perpetual problems into Africa. Sierra Leone is just an example that have been discovered. If you check into Liberia, you will see most of those guys. They are with this Dominion, so-called PhD. They graduate themselves on that trees. You just pay the money on internet and they offload the next day your degree to you. You seek work, you get there, you do not merit them.
Definitely, my friend Edward, just to buttress what you said, academic fraud is not new, but it seems that with the age of internet and with all these quote unquote online universities, it seems that the situation is getting is deteriorating more and more, because it's getting difficult to trace these institutions. There are consequences, like we said. It's not just mere forging a certificate and getting a job, but the consequences are a lot. You can destroy an entire nation by faking a PhD because you occupy a technical position that you're not qualified for. You can kill people because you can be given a position that you have no knowledge about, and your wrong application of method or your wrong advice can destroy lives. In Nigeria, we have a man who went up to the Senate. I don't know if he's going to become Senate president or so. And at the last minute, they got to know that I don't know whether it was his master or PhD, was fake. And this is the man that will be sitting up there getting all the allowances. The bills will be coming, and he will not even know how to object to certain things because he's not qualified. You see, all he knows there is to get the money. He does not really understand the state of the nation. So that's why people should be qualified for the position they occupy. Not just speaking, having big mouth, know how to talk. No, are you qualified for the job? Do you have the capacity, the knowledge, the technique, the technicality to do it? If you can't, then leave it for people who are qualified. There is nothing confusing about that. You see, I love my father, but I can't allow my father to be the pilot of my plane just because I love him. No, he's not qualified. He's not a pilot. So he should not be allowed to take the plane. If he gets in a plane in the front seat, I will not ride in that plane. So that's the same thing in government, in all other institutions. People who are qualified should have the job. If we allow people to fake certificate, then that tells a lot about why our systems don't work, because we have people there who don't know what to do. You see, that's very, very important. And then, Edward, this also tells a lot about our system, because it's one thing to have individuals who are corrupt, and it's another thing to have a system that is not able to detect, that is not able to to show red flag when something like that is going on. I'm in Canada here, for example. If you come here, whether you come with a medical degree or whatever you presented, they don't just honor it. They have to know what institution it came from, when it was issued, whether you qualify, and you are even tested. And if they are not satisfied with it, they will tell you that no, you have to go through another process here. They don't just say because you brought a certificate, so that's it. I think our system in Africa, we should create a system that is corruption proof, so that we cannot tell people not to be corrupt, but when they come to test our system, the system should be able to show them, to at least expose them. You see, but if we have a system that is not exposing them, then the problem is with the system, not the individuals doing it, because there will always be criminals. There will always be people who want to beat them around the system. There will always be people who want to have their way, but there should be a system to prevent that from happening. So if that system is not there, there is a waste of time, because corrupt people are everywhere, and there are people who don't want to go through the normal process. So the system is to be blamed. You see, so as long as the system is not built enough to prevent this thing from happening, I think there's nothing we can do about it. The system is the problem. For me, that's
absolutely. We don't have a fixed system. Maybe we are having system, but the system is not being fixed because of change of regime, change of ideology, all of these things. Because if you must have a kind of carefully planned system, we train technocrats who can easily detect fault like this. But if we do not have civil servants, if we have political sympathizers into Africa, many times we find civil servants who are deeply involved into political jingoism and all of these things. And that has actually created a whole lot of problem for this particular system. I think we need to have a system, and we need to understand that without having a carefully trained and qualified education and personnel into African system, we are heading nowhere. The Western world is advanced, is civilized into this stage. It is because of their type of education system with a carefully trained and qualified culture that they have planted. I think we need to reorganize our system, maybe do a careful explication or even not a research into what we have been doing wrong, and change the system. Let's have a positive renaissance. But trust me, to conclude these topics, as long as we are having fake doctors, fake master's holders, fake PhD holders, we will end up to have a government system that is very corrupt, because these people are not even comfortable into the position.
We have fake spiritual leaders.
Exactly. You have fake pastors. Everything about Africa is now becoming fake. If you have women who are fake, you have boyfriend, everything is just so fake. So the system is a counterfeit one. Yeah. Very. You can see a counterfeit man of God.
Yeah.
Everything.
Fake politicians,
they can resurrect somebody who is
technocrats, fake men of God, fake native doctors. Everybody is fake. How will the system work?
I'm telling you how the system works. So even when you appear, you sit down there, they will also fake you.
Honestly, and Edward, it's not about. And I hear people when they talk about fighting corruption. Sometimes I sit down and I watch my country. They say we want to fight corruption. Then they go to the legislature, they have debate, or they establish an anti-corruption organization. I said that's the wrong way to do it. Corruption will always be there. What do? You create a mechanism, system in play. For example, in the school, you invest in a website, an academic website that will be able to detect academic fraud. You invest in that website and create it so that when students even submit their assignment, this website can tell if they copy from Wikipedia, if they copy from Google, it will be able to detect that academic fraud. When you invest in that, you already solve one corruption problem. If you have the system also where people bring fake certificate, you create a system whereby when someone brings a certificate, a verification method is there. We are able to trace or contact any university from around the world. You have that system in place. Create a system that will be able to be risk-proof. It's not an issue of creating an anti-corruption commission moving around. No, just create a simple system that is in place. For example, the app I talked about, where you have academic fraud. We have it here in our college. As soon as you submit your assignment, they put it into the system. They can tell you where you copy. without giving credit to the source of the information you copy. They can tell you
I
right there
was
you committed academic
I,
fraud.
I was flabbergasted to notice
Yeah,
that they are certain. I was flabbergasted to notice that there are certain
there are
so-called
apps.
lecturers who cannot even know how to create an email on their own, and they are a lecturer in Africa. No,
And
no
they,
type
of
of
course, they
nonsense.
have
They
PhD.
can't create. In fact, they are computer phobia. So how can you? In fact, some of them, in fact, they are living on archaic knowledge. Archaic knowledge. So some of them, in fact, just can somebody be lecturing you and he expecting information from you to supply them. So everything is just
Yeah,
fake. But they are giving them relegated information that are no longer into existence. I think it is high
everything.
time our government look into certain system. You need it because even when you have the system, if you do not change the people corrupting the system, these things are still going to exist because with their corrupt mentality, backward ideologies, they can just infect this and virus everything. In fact, most of these employees are viruses and they have managed to corrupt the entire system. And there are certain viruses, if they catches a computer, I don't know, if they catch the computer, everything is done. Your computer will shut down.
All
Employees
right.
are virus.
Okay, moving away now from academics, we go into politics and straight away to neighboring Guinea. Junta government order foreign company to share profit equally or raise sanctions. I, I mean, this guy Dumuya, this kind of orders. I don't know whether they are legal or they are strategic, whether they are reactionary or they are a careful plan. I don't know. What can you first of all explain this, Edwama? What does it mean by sharing profit?
I think when you have a radical government, they behave radically. And we all know when Dumbuya came into power, his body language spoke. And we are watching at African as a kind of society where we live in the wealth of our natural resources. Unfortunately, we keep wallowing into poverty because of corrupt regime that we have in place for comfortable years. So in these comfortable years, they have managed to manipulate themselves. You are having governments or government personnel whom these so-called communists pay preference to. When Dumbuya came, he took over power. He said he's going to make a total change into the Guinean system. And one of the total changes is to control its foreign reserve and at the same time to ensure that they have absolute control over the country what exports goods. Why do you think we do not have control over whatsoever thing that the international world determines? Because what are we exporting? Now, the junta government has ordered all companies to share the profit equally or the risk sanction. And also, in his own communique, he said that whatsoever things that is being whatsoever mining that is being done into Guinea, those people should establish companies to manufacture these things into secondary goods so that Guineans can be employed. Because you produce the land. The only thing these people are producing is the manpower, maybe not even the physical labor, only the technocrat. But that even with Africans, they have Africans who are technocrat into those people, they hardly gain employment. They come there with foreigners. So most of our government, with all the natural resources that they have, like I said, Sierra Leone is one of the country with what? With wealthy diamonds into the world. We have taken 80, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 carats here. But when they have been sent abroad, these things are done with manufacture here. And we only make use of it when they give us money in exchange of those diamonds. People say we are not going to sell the diamond, then it is us that is going to profit everything. So we are forced to sell it at their own paying price. Now, this junta government has moving. What Dumuya wants is to make a holistic change into Guinea. We cannot make a holistic change into Guinea when you have corrupt companies into Guinea that are existing on moribund contract, expired contract, but they have managed to renew this thing over the year to ensure that they continue exploiting the Guineans. Guinea have one of the largest reserve of resources into West Africa, and their government has actually managed to hold on to this thing here. But unfortunately, even the little that is being mined into Guinea is only benefiting the government. well, not the government, but rather selfish and unscrupulous politicians who have been on the helm of affairs. So Dumbuya came. When Dumbuya came from the blues, nobody expected him to have just reconstruct the country. His body language speaking. Although we do not know his power ambition.
Yeah,
But
but Edward, sorry, I cut you off there. What does it mean by sharing profit?
sharing profit,
Why do you want a company to share profit?
let assume that you have an iron mining company like those iron ore company. If you are making $100 million per week, that profit should be shared 50% to the country and 50% to you. That is what he means.
What
But
commercial
before this
law?
time, before this time,
What law
what
is he
law?
using to do that?
No, he's not using law. The constitution has been suspended. He's ruling by decree. Guinea is not being currently operated on a constitution, because when they took over, the constitution is definitely suspended. He's ruling on decree, and in decree, you listen to what in fact they can even make law overnight. Guinea is still living on an emergency situation. I think he has just realized that this particular company have been exploiting but in fact, when you watch at it, it's around 30 to 70%. So if 30 is going to the government, 70% is going to the foreign companies. And what do you expect? And most of the time, not in fact, they do not report exactly what they gain within a month or within a year. They only choose to report what they want to report. So he has realized that if they can stick, because when you want to change certain laws like this, what they normally do, they take it to parliament, because this thing we are passing to parliament, they satisfy it through giving them blank envelope. Maybe they will sign it for around 10 to 15 years. So that is why when he came, he said that the law is suspended. I am not a subscriber or a sympathizer of radicalism, but I sympathize with positive radicals. If you cannot have radicals on the helm of affairs, like, because you can't expect, how can you be mining into somebody's country, all the natural resources, whatever thing is found there, and you are giving them 25% of what you are mined, you are going with the 75%. What does that country stand to gain? Nothing. That is why the constitution in Guinea is suspended, and they have been ordered either they risk sanction or they should pay 50% to the government, because Guinea needs a holistic type of development. Guinea educational system is a destructive one. The civil servants, we are no longer loyal. It invites, you have a yellow civil service into Sierra Leone. Even the journalists into Guinea, you have a very corrupt media who believe in yellow journalism. Because if you cannot support what Alpha Conde definitely want, they can easily lock your station. And that's happened even in Liberia. It happened everywhere. So you're watching all of this system, everything is being backward. It came to a time that civil servant can hardly be paid. All it is because what the country is generating within the month hardly meet its expenditure. And these companies have gained wealth overnight. So that is why he has moved. It is not a legal law. It is not constitutionally binding, but the constitution now is a suspended one. So now they are fulfilling most of those demands. And mind you, all these are part of Russia's manipulation. France have a lot of companies into Guinea. But the manner in which they can cripple France's presence into Guinea is to level certain laws that the French government may not be too much comfortable to swim within. And since then, they have actually been complying. Negotiations are going on. But if you cannot have a radical regime to change it overnight, trust me, Africa will never develop. It will never develop.
Thank you very much, Edward. I think this man from Guinea, Dumbuya, is quoting directly, or he's reading from the usual dictatorship playbook. And they have this
Exactly.
playbook where when they come to power, the first thing they do is to make unreasonable pronouncements, make some flashy projects that they are not willing, that they are not even having the capacity to really undertake. And they pass some law without any system in place to enforce those laws, but just to make the people to jubilate on the street. When you talk about processing your raw material, it's not something you come on TV just to make sure. It is something that it is a program. It is not an event. You just come and have an event and say, they must process now our raw material. No, this is a system, a program that you need to put in place. Okay, from the legislature up, it has to be in all the organic law. There has to be a system, even your commercial law, everything have to point to the fact that Goods must be processed in this country. And there must be a way to implement and enforce all the system. Then you have to also make the environment, or you have to create a system that will make it possible. Electricity. Do you have it? Do you have the infrastructure? Do you have the roads? You can't just talk about processing raw material and you don't have the basic infrastructure in place. You just come overnight and make pronouncement. These things don't happen overnight. You begin with a program, okay, a reconstruction program, okay, an industrialization program, and you implement it, build a power plant, supply the country with electricity. You have done the phase one. Then you build the infrastructure, beginning with roads. You build the phase two. Build a legal system so that companies, when they come to the country, the companies are protected by law. When they have any issue, they can seek redress in the court, and the court are willing to give them justice. So the people know that their investments are protected. You completed the phase three. Investors will come. You see, but you don't just wake up and say, you'll come, you'll share your profit. You know what's going to happen? They're going to bribe some of your officials because you don't even know how much they make as profit. They can tell you this is what we make, and some of your officials will collect money, and they will make sure that your so-called pronouncement is not enforced because there is no system in place to check it, and everything will end up as fiasco. People should not operate like that. There should be a system. So I believe that this guy is going to be another, Daddy Kamara show. Even though he's going to be different, he's not going to be like Daddy was too dramatized. He's going to do his own Daddy show and leave without accomplishing nothing. Because all he's saying, they share profit, it just means you'll get put your post on your pocket, as we say in Liberia. They'll give me smarty. That's all he's saying, you'll give me smarty.
But maybe the sharing of a profit is not making a reference for the profit to be shared between. It is like maybe between the company and the Guinean government for investment.
Yeah, give me smarty.
Or maybe it's a black. It's about yes, yeah. But the system we are watching at a kakitocracy government here, more of military people, khaki boys government, instead of having a kind of technocrat government. But some still technocrat are still being a little bit shy and how they may come. So the Guinean system is yet to be evolved. So if they're trying to evolve, I think it should be a bit ideological and gradual into taking certain decisions. But he wants to speak in volume, and in speaking some of the volume, he's not ruling as decree. Maybe, I don't know, he may have perused the document that this so-called guy signed with the government of Guinea and seen how abusive their mining company have been into Guinea. Maybe I can say maybe it was not a cautious decision being taken. But with whatsoever thing, most of the pronouncement that he's doing, if actually have the system set up in place, it can benefit the Guinean government. But if there is no system set up in place, then it means it is going to be something that may even drag it backward, because most of those companies or presence of foreigners who have actually helped the Guinean government may withdraw and everything will be relegated. So they need to be very careful. Now, they shouldn't trust too much on Russia's pronouncement into certain things. Russia has certain things that they are dealing with. We are watching at the AU, and we are watching about at the Guinean themselves. I think the Guinean themselves should own their country, and they shouldn't look at Dumbuya as an untouchable person. They have the right, but I can see everything. Everybody's just compromising with the system now. Who knows? The civil society may have been bribed. The opposition may have been bribed, because we are seeing where my doubts are existing. They are existing in essence here since that guy took over. It is now going 5 or 6 months ago. He have never made any pronouncement or how he want to organize election, how he's going to do it, when does he intend to make power, and nobody is making an inch. Nobody is taking an inch. So we are the civil societies, we are the opposition, we are the human rights. Is the entire system being compromised? So maybe something is going on, but we are going to see eventually.
Definitely, Edward. I love what Magufuli, the late John Pombe Magufuli of Tanzania, what he did. It was similar to like Dumbuya. He met a lot of corrupt companies, but he did not go on TV and start making pronouncements. What he did was to create a system. He said, we have to audit these companies and honestly overhaul their operations and see whether they've been paying taxes, whether they've been paying their fair share, whether the agreements, the bilateral agreement they had, whether they are following up with it. whether they are not breaching their contract. So this is a legal way to go. So he found out that there was a British mining company that wasn't paying the taxes in the right way. They were paying money under the table, bribing the corrupt leaders, and they were owing nearly $200 million. So he put it out there public and said, okay, this is the problem. You have to stop your mining operation or you pay the $200 million of taxes fraud. You have to pay now. And he made everything public, and they went to the court, and then the government won the case, and these people gave the money fast. And he used that to build a railroad and start doing some infrastructure development. You have to build confidence. You can't just also, because you're a military leader, you got gun, you just sit up there and say, you'll share the profit. That's not how it is done. We don't run nation like a ghetto. You have to create a system that is just and make sure that it is balanced and internationally recognized, so that when you people can trust you. Other business people, if you think when you do that to other companies, they will just trust you and come and invest in your country. You can just sit in the comfort of your office and say, share the profit. Is that how things are done? You see, Magufuli didn't do that. He checked whether these people were following the law, whether they were paying their taxes, whether they were bribing government leaders or not. When he found reasonable ground and legal ground to be able to punish them, he did it, and they were able to pay off. And the money that came from that, he built infrastructures. And those companies from that point upward, they knew that by bribing, they will lose. So they began to comply with the system, and everything moved smoothly. This is how you do. You don't do gangsterism and say, you'll share the money. Then they gave you 200 million in darkness. Then the whole nation will not know what happened. And tomorrow when you leave power, you and your family, you're going to stay in Dubai. This is another show, man. It's not a leader. It's very clear. People who don't understand it, they will understand it later. Okay, then let's move from Guinea, second to the last. We are in Liberia, my country. A border town in shock. Oh, let me put it on the screen. A border town in shock after man killed girlfriend. So such killing be related to the Liberian Civil War. Edward, it's interesting how you linked it to the Civil War. I think they're talking about intergenerational trauma. As a social worker, I understand what intergenerational trauma is. You see, our country went through hell. We have not healed. Liberia has not healed. People don't understand it. They just see people moving around. The country is okay. Liberia has not healed. We went through trauma. We went through one of the deadliest civil war on the continent, and we decided to cover up the wound, and we did not heal the wound. And the wound is getting rotten under the cloth. It's smelling and leaking. And I'm just painting this picture. And then we are trying to pretend as if nothing is happening. So as a result, and then unfortunately for us, again, we are not having incompetent leadership upon incompetent leadership coming up. And the citizens are frustrated. The legal system is not working. The police is not good. And killings are going on daily in Liberia. The killings are going on. Like this incident of the border, the guy killing his girlfriend at the border, it's just one. It's a lot. I saw another one on the internet where the guy was killing a community when he went to visit his girlfriend. There's another case of a girl that had a phone call and went to visit some Lebanese, and then she was killed. And guess what the government says? They say, no, nothing happened. She died of natural cause. Where there's every indication that there is some malpractice went on. They get even call on the phone and say that they are trying to kill me. So the system is broken. There is no justice. And even when there is a little light of justice, justice is not even seen to be done. And people think that it's normal to cover up justice. And when you cover up justice, you are building a recipe for disaster and chaos. The Liberian Civil War, many people forget, it didn't start overnight. It wasn't just one man get up and then he did a coup d'etat in 1980, and then there was a Kuyangba coup and then the Civil War. No, it didn't happen like that. There was impunity for a very long time. There was a ruling class that refused to relate to the people. There was a ruling class that was in charge of the resources while majorities suffer. There was no justice in the land. People were killed. The boyo, things were going on. That pain is what precipitated and then went on, and then it created an atmosphere of fear, of anger, and dissatisfaction. So there was a little opportunity, it became a blown out into a civil war. It seems that we did not learn from that. And now, this same thing that brought our civil war, that destroyed our nation, they are repeating. Corruption is on the high, failed leadership, injustice, impunity, now indiscriminate killing, murder, homicide on a daily basis. And the government is not even willing to investigate and make the truth known. Even when the fact that right before, or they are calling it, they call it black as before, or they're calling it white. White in front of, or they are calling it black, because they are running a partisan politics. They are trying to lead people who are gullible. They are trying to lead people who are not interested in transparency. And I think we are in a very, very dangerous time. And I like the way you link it to the Liberian Civil War. I believe the country has not healed, and we are going through a very dangerous situation. And I hope thinkers, if there are thinkers still in that country, they will begin to think to put a social program, the legal program that will be able to help heal that nation. If Liberia does not heal, there is no way. Stop talking about progress, building road. Those things are even too big. We have not even healed in our communities. As a people, we have not healed. So we don't even talk about development yet. And if we play with that, I'm telling you, our social structure will be broken. And when society is broken, when the social institution, families, community are suspicious of each other, you are no longer talking about development. You are about to call United Nations to come and protect you. That's where we are. Edward.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because we are watching at Liberia, the system over there is not anyone that one may think that they are living in a purely in a society that deals with social principle. Liberia, unfortunately, survived the 10 years or the 9 years or whatsoever, 12 years civil war that was fought into the country. But yet, it has not been able to make a holistic integration into Liberia. Maybe it is because after the 10 years civil war that was fought, you had a government that came into place. We are expecting certain examples to be set. The country, mind you, the country was already demoralized. It was negatively radicalized. Then you have corrupt creed of young guys who came. They were only exposed to arms and ammunition. And when they came, after the disarmament and dismobilization of these so-called former social rebels, these ex-combatants, they were still integrated into the society. Unfortunately, the mistake was that these guys, they were not like it was not you have a rebel group. You take untrained and unqualified people who are introduced to the barrel and taught the life of hooliganism, and they used to brutalize people, rape women, sanction things with that particular barrel. Unfortunately, it was these same people that the Erling government empowered to become our police, to become our soldiers. And these are the same corrupt politicians that you have in parliament. Some of them are even senators. So we did not live a sanitized society. Trust me, some people who are now perpetrating, like this guy, if a 20 years old boy, he survived the system, or he did not withstand the civil war, but he still have the gene of that particular civil war, because he met a society that behave as if they are in war. It is only in Liberia when you cry, row, row, row. If that person is not very close to the next police station, he's dead. You're having people like that who are observing that system. You're having a kind of disharmonized society where the Liberian culture is now lacking. You have police who behave like rebels, armed robbers overnight. And we are watching at a school system. You can even get into Liberian school system, watch at a teacher, you will not classify him to be a teacher. He smoke, he drink, he behave radically. They are breeding these children. So I think the Liberian society is just a disharmonized one, a one that is lacking from reality, a demoralized one, a one. If you watch at politicians, watch at something like Yeka Koluba, I don't admire him. In fact, we should have decency into the way we run politics. Even when we watch our social media, what are they marketing? I think Liberia is our country. Liberia is what is deleting itself from moral consciousness, from reality of life, and they are now being radicalized. But the radicality is not positive; it's very negative. So I'm telling you that the police that we are having have not been able to sanitize the society, the soldiers, even our government institution. So now, even the manner of communication, the way of doing things is now totally corrupt, and everything is still linked. So when you get into, if you have taken long time into Canada, but immediately you get into Liberia, you will not feel safe. You think as if you are in war, because they'll start to rob you right from the airport, even within your own community. So people do not believe in normalcy. There is that lacking of culture. So I think they do not have a kind of social organization that should actually counsel people. How many people that they actually cross-check their background before ever giving them power to act on behalf of the government? It is the same people that are perpetrating things. So I think we should link everything with the civil war that happened to Liberia, because the society and those who took over just after that system, they do not actually plan the culture, the governance system to rehabilitate the Liberians. They were not rehabilitated. These people were only given power to act legally. They were just let to go court free. So that is why all of those incidents are not set up. So how many times? In fact, if you get into firestorm, people are there with arms and ammunition. You cannot go everywhere, they will kill you. It is only, in fact, Sierra Leone is a bit better, that they totally disarm people and they lay laws on arms. But in Liberia, still people are carrying those single barrels. They can kill you overnight. So it's like, it is only in theory that the war was declared over. But in practical, it is still there, because all the symptoms of war are still existing. So everything that is happening today should be linked, because the society of Liberia was not purely constructed after the civil war was declared over. Our politicians were only hungry for power. They do not create a social system that can help to integrate this youth. Even those who were actually involved into the war, who are ex-combatants, some of them we are just let to go loose, and they are the armed robbers today. They are responsible. They want breeding children into the wrong way. They married into our society. So what do you expect a mother who is a prostitute, a father who is a prostitute, to give birth to a child? What do you expect that child to become? If somebody who was a rebel married another prostitute, they give, what do you expect? So this is how our society is. I think these people should have been kept in special places, maybe cancel them socially, give them certain life skills, so that when they'll come with different agenda. But there are certain armed robbers. Maybe ask today the abandon ex-rebels into Liberia, those ex-combatants. There are many, and they will blame government. What do you expect them to plan overnight? They will plan killing. And if they give birth to children, those children will destroy our society, because they're not coming into any home that is morally conscious.
Thank you there, Edward Amara. We've gone about 26 minutes beyond our normal time, but I will read the comments very quickly, and you will be given 2 minutes to make your final comments, and then we will call it a day. So let's read from Prince Dolo. Prince Dolo said, I'm watching. Thank you, Prince, for watching. We have Jason Carr. He said, exactly, brother. Well said. I think he was reacting to a comment there. So we have Jason Carr said, Liberia advocated for freedom from apartheid. Right. I think I know that story. And Steve Wilson said, this is why I get angry when I see African and African leaders talk about things happening in West. Yeah, I think you were referring to how we do not fix our domestic problems, but we love to involve international politics. Maki S. Manu said, I believe this xenophobia behavior is actually in Africans' DNA. Really? Is there scientific proof? Even in the USA, the Africans, Americans carry out the xenophobic behavior towards other African immigrants. That's right. But to say it's in the DNA, that's a little bit too far. I would say it's cultural, or it's a self-hate culture that we've developed over time. Jason Carr said, "This is the best show, brothers. Thank you for the compliment." Flomo says, "South African always do that to their fellow African brothers and sisters. Very sad. Definitely, Flomo, and we want to know why." Jason Carr said, "Between brothers, sad news, Dr. George B.N. Nyete has passed away." Oh, well, we don't know who that is, but may his soul rest in peace, whoever the deceased was. Eugene Weja just said, "Teaching is a noble profession." I agree. Steve Watson said, "Africa's big problems are African leaders. They refuse to empower, I think he meant, their younger generation. They keep them impoverished, I think he meant, so they can rule them for life. Very, very unfortunate, my friend. But what should the young people do? That's the question. Should we wait for them to do that to us? Tobasi Christopher, he said, releasing such videotape, I think he was referring to someone that they were having a conversation. It's not related to the show. Another conversation not related to the topic. Not related to the topic. We have Steve Watson. African young population keep rising. Corruption, corrupt politicians doing nothing good for them. Yeah, feel your pain. From the decks of the CEO of the Focus on Liberia, he said, according to UNESCO, Zimbabwe has an adult literacy rate of 88.69%, while the male literacy rate is 89.19%. For female, 88.28%, compared to the rest of countries in number 88, because in ranking of literacy rate, the literacy rate has increased in recent years. Wow, such an educated country going through poverty and backwardness. Unfortunately, education has been abused. Jason Carr said, brothers are intelligent. I love the term negative radical versus positive radical. Your categorization is spot on. Amara, those are your terminologies. Gamer Loki Holt, or my sister, say yes, brother. She was trying to be in affirmative. Dave Jazz say, I may be off topic, but Mr. Amara, please comment on the performance of the president of Sierra Leone. Amara, that's if you think it's safe to do so, then Dave Jazz, how will you compare him with Weah of Liberia? This person is after you, Edward. Dave Jazz said, we need private vetting agencies to deter frauds in credentials and other documentation. Perfectly and well put, Mr. Jha. Steve Wilson said the system is not followed because of corruption. The system has no problem. Okay. Another comment here. Mama Harris say we need a strong whistleblower program with incentive. Good one there. Maki Manu said, get a laughing emoji there. Then maybe we can change the name Africa to Afikika, whatever that means. Afisika. Dave Jazz said the fake ones are winning because the people are gullible and impoverished to listen to honest people. The people don't want long-term solutions. Instead, gratification, referring to the fake certificate and the fake technocrat in government, I think. Steve Watson said, how do you give a goat cassava leaf to look after? The goat will definitely eat it, my man. Dave Jazz said, knee-jerk, impulsive, incompetent, rush to judgment by the junta. What studies has the junta conducted? Guinea requires serious structural change, not repulsivity. I agree. David Jha, what are the metrics? How does he know their profit? How does the junta enforce the mandate? I think referring to the so-called sharing profit. You know what I mean? Dave Jha, I agree, Sekou, the dictator of Guinea will fail. He is just a showman. he does not understand the intricacies of leadership. I agree. The comments are many, Edward. I will stop there because of time. And then that's it. You can react to the comments. You can say someone wants you to comment on Mother Bio leadership. Maybe you can do that in the next show if you want, but you can make a general comment on what you hear so far.
Yeah, thank you. I think in the first place, we thank all those who uh, participated in the show. It was a very good one, and we hope to come with something very, very interactive our next show. Then finally, maybe if I can say, comparing Mother BU to that of George Weah, even on international scale and locally, I think Mother BU is more a prepared politician compared to a celebrated soccer person like George Weah. I think Madabio is performing when you watch at them. He's a better person in time of leadership compared to George Opong Manawea.
Gave us the
Because
data, Edward.
the data,
Source up.
uh, I think I'm just making a time of holy. But when you watch at the economic development, Sweden is beatable. Then, mind you, some years back or few years back, Liberia was unable to even pay her civil servants. Sierra was paying hers. If you watch at the security basis, Liberia, Sierra Leone is a bit better. If you watch at the infrastructural development, Sierra Leone is a bit better. Maybe on our next show, we try to compare these two countries, certain things. But holistically, the BO-led government is more of a matured one compared to the Liberian George Weah-led government. Because since BO took over, it is because of failure in leadership that he saw civil servants or other people coming out to protest. You have the light of Costa who violently protested against George Weah-led government 1 or 2. It is because there's a fail into the top leadership. In Sierra Leone, nothing like that actually took place. So that tells you that there is some amount of maturity being felt into the leadership into Sierra Leone, relatively compared to that of Liberia. But in a nutshell, because of the backwardness of our country and the crippling economy that we're having, kudos to Weah also. He's doing excellently well in his own capacity. And I think the ballot box 2023 will definitely tell.
Definitely. Even though I consider your submission to be subjective, is highly subjective, I want you to bring some objective facts,
I will come with
traceable
evidence. That is why
data,
that is
how
how I'm
many
saying.
kilometers of
Yeah.
roads
That
have
is how I'm saying.
Bio
Yeah.
constructed,
So I have
how
never
many
wanted to
hospitals,
comment. But anyway, on our
this
next show, you will
economic
see
plan and program, how has it changed the GDP and all that. So we want to see fact and few.
corruption being fought. Liberia,
Yeah,
yes, yeah. When you have a current officer hire to go and fight against corruption in Liberia, you are going to be killed. Israel, they are being accepted. You see them. The everywhere you go, they clap by Liberia, you disclose yourself, so you are dead the next day. So we are seeing all of even lawlessness within Monrovia, rituals killings and all that thing, political killings are being linked with rituals. All of these things are there. But anyway, when we have time, we shall come with certain statistics to beef it up my point.
definitely. And there was one more
Goodbye for
topic.
everybody listening. Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. There was one more topic we jumped. I put it in late. It was about Rwanda migrant deal with Britain. So
Exactly.
we will deal with it next week when we come over to deal with that migrant deal. So your final comment, did you make your final comment yet?
Yeah, my final comment is that we are craving on the indulgence of people to keep watching. Maybe each time we share our focus on Africa page, we're also expecting other people to share and let them be very civilized in making their comment. As I rightly say, if anybody wants to come and contribute on the program, you have the opportunity. Just notice us on our page. We will definitely get onto you, and the management will try to talk to you and see how we can do it. Um, Above all, I think this program was very, very positive today, and it drives the night to other people who definitely contributed. We value your comment. Keep commenting. I will keep reading. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edward Amara. That is my co-host and also the West African correspondent for Focus on Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you very much. We appreciate your contribution, your comments, and we are happy whenever we see you here to come and discuss the issue that matters to Africa. Roundtable Africa will always bring you the best every Wednesday, same time, and we will be here to discuss the issue. As we always say, you are welcome to contribute in the comment section. If you want to be a guest on this program, kindly write us in the inbox there and we will get back to you. With that, we say thank you very much. May God bless Mama Africa and may God bless your respective countries.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. USA all we want. Liberia, oh. USA all we want. Liberia, be Liberia. Oh, Liberia, oh, yeah. Our country.